welcome to the Ninjababes podcast. What's up, Nicolette?
How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm here with Nicolette McDonnell, and we're here. True disclosure, like we had a little bit of technical difficulties last time, so we're back. And for you all, it's your first time still, but for us, it's like okay, here we are.
You've heard the answers in a choppy form in some capacity for the first two questions.
Yeah, I was like, this is way like robot version. I don't think it's gonna work. Like, let's start over, like please.
It's
So
okay. We're
anyway,
here now. We're here now. We're ready.
we're here. Super happy to be with you, Nicolette. I've heard so much about you through Shell Edge, who works with us here at Ninja Babes, and just other people who know you. And you were in a wild post on the Ninja Babes page on social media. And so I got to know a little bit more about you. And I know for sure the fact that you're inspiring and you have a lot of motivation going on. And you were called for ANW 13 this season. So we want to get to hear more about who you are and then what transpired this year as you're getting ready for ANW 13. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, just what gym you're at, and just kind of where you are in the ninja world.
Sure. I'm 35 years old. Outside of Ninja, I am married to my husband, Jim. We've been married almost 7 years now. And I have two daughters. My oldest is Emmeline. She's 5.5. And my little one, Summer, she's 22 months. I am a nurse practitioner in surgical breast oncology. So I work with women who are newly diagnosed with breast cancer on the surgical side of things. And yeah, I'm pretty new to Ninja actually. So I've been training for a little bit over a year. And my home gym, I guess I would consider Action Athletics in Wellesley. But I've found that I actually sort of really like to jump around to gyms and get a feel for different coaching styles. And they always have different obstacles set up. So I kind of in the Northeast here, I like to gym hop a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in the Northeast, we have the privilege of doing that
Yeah.
because a lot of places you cannot. Gym hopping would be like driving 3 or 4 hours
Yeah.
to get.
No, you can
Yeah,
definitely go check out some different spaces, which is cool.
yeah, definitely. So you were called for ANW 13 this year,
Mhm.
and we'll kind of like hold on for a sec. We won't get too much into the story yet, but how did you get into Ninja Warrior in the first place?
Yeah, so I've been aware of the show, I mean, for years and years, and anytime I would see it, I was always intrigued by it. I never changed the channel if I came across A&W. And there was always a part of me that was kind of like, I think I can do some of this stuff. Like, I really actually think if I tried, I could do some of that stuff. But then I started really getting into it because when Emmeline was 4, so a couple of summers ago, a neighbor had said to me, they were like, Emmeline climbs on everything. And she's like super athletic. You should let her watch that show. I bet she would love it. And so we just started watching, like binge watching A&W reruns. And sure enough, she was hooked and I loved it. So it was fine with me if she was watching it. And then she was like, Mom, I have to do this. I have to, I want to do obstacles. I want to do ninja. And at the time, I truly didn't know anything about the ninja community. Like other than the show, I didn't know anything about competitions or training or anything, but I literally just Googled, American Ninja Warrior gyms near me. And then sure enough, a few popped up. So I was able to enroll her in a couple of preschool classes. And then as I'm watching her, on the side, I'm kind of like, do they do this for adults too? Like, can I be a part of this? So I went up to the gym owner and they were like, yeah, of course, like you got to sign up for our intro course, which I did. And then I think by the end of the first intro course, I was like, do you guys do like a team thing? Can I be on a team? Like if you have a team, can I join? And then that's kind of how it happened. And, really started seriously training. It was the February of 2020. So like just before the pandemic hit. And we as a family, I would say, have been pretty hooked on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool because there's so many parents who are in your position where like their kid starts going and they're wondering like, can I do this? But to know that you truly followed through and like made it happen and you got there is huge because I'm a coach at a ninja gym
Yeah.
and adults are always asking me like, adults don't do this. What do they do it? And I'm like, yeah, they do it. Like
Yeah.
I do it. Like
Yeah.
we all do it. Come on. And so it's cool to see like that you actually were inspired by your kid and then went for it. And so I love it.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of
cool.
cool, I think, to see it in reverse, right? Because usually
Mhm.
your kid will see what their mom or dad is doing, like, oh, I want to do that. And in this case, it was totally backwards. I'm like, I really want to do what Emmeline's doing. She's like crushing it out there, you know? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Was she like, "Mommy, no, like, this is mine," or was she like, "Yeah?"
Oh no,
Like, how
she's
did she
like, she
respond?
totally loves it. You know, anytime she goes, she's like, Mom, are you going to be coming with me today? And I'm like, no, honey, like this, you can have your time, I'll have my time. And then we do, you know, we'll go to open gyms together, you know, so that we get to train together. But we have our separate times too. But she's fully supportive. My 5-year-old is fully supportive.
I love it. That's so fun. So then, yeah, like you said, you started ninja training really like right before the pandemic, and then while the pandemic was happening, gyms closed and all that stuff. Were you able to keep training at home, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, so, at first, I literally went to Home Depot, and got, like, some slabs of wood and just built some balance obstacles. I was like, "You know what? This is, like, minimal work. I can figure this out. Like, I can, you know, use a drill." And I literally just built some, like, balance stuff to honestly keep the kids occupied, and then I was, you know, hopping on it too. And then I approached my husband, and I was like, "Hey, you know, like, we're gonna be home for the foreseeable future. We have a kind of nice backyard for where we are in Boston. And it's not huge, but it's nice where you can put something out there. So he was very adverse to putting in like a swing set or anything like that. And I was like, can we reconsider that though? It won't be a swing set. It's going to be like a ninja thing. And so long story short, he was like, all right. So we ended up building a kind of like a rig out back. And then it was, you know, kind of more for the kids, and I was like, all right, I need some like bigger things that like mommy can play on too. And so I actually saw a bunch of Shell's like posts from her social media page of all the things she was building in her backyard. And I'm like, is she doing this like by herself? I'm like, I could do that. Or if I can't do it, like I can ask her to do it. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, like I think we met each other maybe like once in passing, but like, would you ever come to my house and help me build the Lachey lane? And she was like, you know, in her accent, absolutely, you know. So she and I went to Home Depot together. We got the materials and I say that we built it, but really Shell built it, and I just like holding things in place. You know, I held them in place where I needed to, and she did it. But yeah, so then it made it a lot easier during the summer to kind of get some training in.
I love that. I love that the Ninja Babes came together and
Yeah,
Shell helped you build
I was
things.
like, I'm like, this is like this petite little British girl, and she's like throwing together this like huge rig. I'm like, how? This is so inspiring in and of itself. Like, I need to get this girl in my corner and help me to build too.
If there's one thing I've learned about Shell, it's that she has tons of like determination.
Oh
Like
yeah.
she's gonna make something happen if she
Oh
wants
yeah.
to.
Oh yeah. No, she was resilient in terms of building that thing, and you know, just like digging the holes is, you know, a feat in and of itself, and then she's, you know, holding the beams. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome, but it was great. So now we have the Lachey lane out back, which is cool.
So good. So good. So that lasted you through. And then
Yeah.
you applied for A&W 13.
Mhm.
And why did you apply before we even get further in the story? What was
Um,
your motivation?
well, so like I said, you know, the first thing I was like, you know, I think I could do this, and why not? I mean, I guess that's my answer is why not? This is something that's fun. I really like it, and you might as well give it a shot, right? But you know, the main reason, if I think of it sort of from a broader perspective, what I do for work is very heavy. You know, when a woman in my hospital is diagnosed with breast cancer, they're hearing it from me. I'm the one that makes all those phone calls, and that's a challenging phone call to make. I've never been on the receiving end of news like that, so I honestly can't imagine what that feels like. You know, I can only imagine there's a lot of anxiety and fear, and there's a lot of unknowns that lie ahead. And so part of me is like, okay, you know, the obstacles on the show are certainly not comparable to the challenges that they're going to face, you know, in terms of their cancer treatment, but they're certainly symbolic, right? You know, they're a metaphor. And so I truly wanted to, you know, kind of be an inspiration to them and just say, hey, listen, like, um, as long as you're willing to show up and you're willing to fight and give it a go, you can probably take on a lot more than you think you can. So that was, you know, probably the main motivation behind it. Um, but then I always joke and I'm like, yeah, the secondary reason is because like I kind of want to be like a cool mom that that's on the show, right? And my kid is
I
gonna look at me and
mean,
be like, "Hey,
yeah.
my mom's kind of cool. Like she's on A&W."
I mean, totally, why not?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. No, but it's really cool to hear just your reasons behind it, and I know your patients mean a lot to you. Like, having that compassion and wanting to do anything you can to just exhibit that support and just show that same care and motivation. And like you said, it's different. Like you're on a course, you're not fighting for your life in the same way, but
Yeah.
it is still cool to see that connection. So then tell us more about what happened after that with your shirts and things like that.
Yeah, so, once you get the call, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is happening," and you're like, "Oh, like, I need a ninja name, and wanna design a shirt," and all of that. Um, I looked into doing that, and I said, "I wanna make sure that some of the proceeds go to some type of charitable organization." So, I work with a few different breast surgeons, and I actually sent them an email, and I was like, "Hey, like, do you guys know of any, really good charities?" And I wanted to do something smaller and kind of local. So there's a nonprofit organization in Amesbury, Mass, called Tough Warrior, Tough Warrior Princesses, and basically it provides services and supplies and support to women who are diagnosed with cancer. And I'm like, that's perfect. So the proceeds from our shirt and any donations we received went directly to the organization, and it was really cool. I actually just got last week a thank you letter from them, and the woman that wrote the letter was like, this is where we used it, and this is what we did, and it was just really nice to see, like, even though I ended up not being able to compete, it wasn't all for naught, and it really was sort of a bigger cause behind all of it.
Definitely, yeah. So, I mean, let's jump into the hard part of the story now. So, so you got the call. You were extremely excited, like
Yeah.
you said. Made these shirts, and I've actually seen the shirts. I saw somebody wearing it when I was filming
No
during I did it.
way.
I saw somebody had it on, and
Oh.
I thought of you immediately. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, so many people really did buy these
Oh my god,
shirts.
that makes me so happy.
I couldn't tell you who it was because it was someone I didn't recognize, but it was a male. I
Oh,
don't know. That's
it's
all I could
okay.
say.
It's okay.
Um, but so yeah, so when you got the call, then fast forward, I'll let you explain what happened, but you didn't end up competing. And
Right.
so what happened? What
S
transpired?
Yeah, so, we were supposed to I think my day to compete was, the beginning of April, whatever, and, my husband on March 9th, he called me, or no, it was March 11th, he called me, and he was like, "Bad news, I just found out I've been exposed to COVID." And it was through work, and, I was like, "Oh my god," and my initial reaction, which he kinda still pokes fun at me, for, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what about the show?" And he was like, "What about the show? What if I get COVID?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." But no, so at that point, he was just exposed. We didn't know if he was going to get it yet. So we basically put him in strict isolation. Me and the kids were away from him. And then sure enough, he started developing symptoms. Thank God he had a mild case, but he did end up testing positive. And so just given the timeline of it, when he tested positive, in theory, we still would have had plenty of time to be out of quarantine before flying out to the show, as long as my kids didn't get it. I'm fully vaccinated, so I wasn't too worried about myself, and I had several negative tests leading up to it. But then my youngest tested positive a week later, but my oldest was negative. But then she tested positive a week after that. So then it carried us right into the time frame when I was going to fly out. And so, you sign all of those waivers saying that you're going to obviously notify them if you've had a close contact. So I reached out to the producers, and they were actually very, very nice about it. And they were like, like we know that you're vaccinated, but we just, it's not 100%, we just have to be super cautious. And I totally understood. But, I was certainly upset not to be able to compete. But, at the end of the day, I was like, thank God my family was fine. I mean, my kids were basically asymptomatic the entire time, and my husband had a very, very mild case. So we were super fortunate.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that your family is good and healthy first and foremost.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
because I know that could be a scary time. I mean, I wouldn't want to imagine that. What if it was worse? But how much more devastating would it have been if you didn't get to compete and something really like horrific happened?
Well,
So I
right.
mean,
I mean,
and
it's
yeah,
funny, like I said earlier, my husband was like, "What? Like, that's your reaction?" But in my head, honestly, I was like, even if he gets it, like he's a young, otherwise healthy guy, he'll probably do fine. But then of course your brain switches and you're like, "Oh my gosh, but what if he's the outlier? Or like what if my kids are the outliers who, most kids do just fine with it, but like what if they don't?" And then you really start to get nervous, and then truly the show certainly takes a backseat and you're like, I just got to make sure my family is healthy here, and everybody's okay. And so thank God they were. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm glad they were. And then I'm sure your kids too had once being, being testing positive, I'm sure, like I said, probably took precedent in the forefront of their minds. But once they realized, like, oh no, mommy doesn't get to go
Yeah.
compete, how did they react?
Um, so Emmeline at 5 years old is honestly, I think, one of the most resilient kids ever. Like she was like, "Mom, it's totally fine. Like you'll just try again next year." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, um, no, but seriously, she is like wise beyond her years, and she's like, "It's okay, Mom. Like we don't do ninja for the TV show. We do ninja because we love ninja." And I'm like, you know what,
Oh,
kiddo? Like you have more perspective than most 5-year-olds. And um, so she was really good about it. And the 22-month-old, she doesn't know what's happening at all. She's just running around like a crazy little toddler. But yeah, they were
true.
they were fine. And Emlyn is like, super encouraging. And Mom, I feel bad for you, but it's okay. So
Yeah. Oh man. So just to like be real about it, and I love when people are able to be transparent about struggles like this,
yeah,
because I'm sure someone else listening has had something similar, whether it was specifically A&W disappointment related
yeah.
or something else. Like how did how did it feel for you, and how have it's been a few weeks now since this happened, but have you felt I want to let you speak for yourself, but how has it felt?
So yeah, initially I was like so disappointed because as you work so hard and you train really hard. And there were a lot of there were a lot of tears. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. um but one of the things I try and tell myself is, perspective is a huge, huge thing. And so again, given what I do for work, that always helps me to keep things in perspective, right? So there was that piece of it. Okay, we're healthy, it's okay, focus on that. But the other piece of it is I sort of have a tendency to kind of say, okay, I'm going through this, kind of crappy situation, but this person has it so much worse, so I should be okay with it. And while I think it's good to have perspective, I also think it's okay to feel the disappointment and really work through it. And my best friend has, she says this to me all the time. She goes, Nick, just because you deal with people that have cancer, somebody has cancer, it doesn't mean that you need to enjoy having a broken ankle. And I think it's like the best way that when she says that to me, I'm like, you know what? You're right. It is okay to say this kind of sucks right now. And like it won't suck forever, but I'm disappointed and it's hard. And so I basically just allowed myself to feel disappointed for a few days and didn't really care if I was crying. And I said to my husband, I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna for a couple days. You just got to give me a couple days. I'll bounce back. It'll be fine. Um, and that's what I did. I allowed myself to feel upset. And then kind of after that, I was like, okay, now I'm ready to get back in the gym and do some rage training. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And do you have any other advice for other people who might be dealing with something similar?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I just said, it's a balance, right? It's a balance of having perspective, and also allowing yourself to feel the disappointment and knowing that that's okay too. And just because somebody else might be going through something that's, objectively harder, it doesn't take away from the experience that you're going through and the disappointment that you might feel. So I guess allow yourself to feel it, but then don't ruminate about it forever, you know. The other thing I think that's super helpful for me is, if I were to pick like one word as my like life mantra, it's gratitude. And you know, I have that tattooed on me. And every night before bed, Emlyn and I say three things that we're grateful for before bed. And it's amazing how much that helps take negative emotions, you know, negative experiences, and really allows you to focus on the things that you're most grateful for and the things that you do have. So that's, for me personally, is probably the biggest thing, not only with this experience, but other, you know, challenging experiences that I've gone through that are helpful.
Yeah, I think that's so excellent. Thank you for that advice. It's true too. As you were talking, I was thinking about back when I had dislocated my shoulder and then needed surgery. I remember part of, I guess it was, I can't remember like which month this was, but during the summer going like right into surgery,
Yeah.
it's the same time that Bethany Hamilton's second documentary had come out,
Uh-huh.
and she's the surfer who had lost her arm.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that, and it was like the same side of the same left
Yeah.
arm. I remember watching it and being like, she lost her arm. Like her arm was traumatically ripped off her body.
Right.
Mine was traumatic dislocation. It went back in and it wasn't by a shark. And you know, and so just having that realization of like, I am, you know, I feel like I've suffered. I'm gone through like this traumatic, you know, realization of I was on the course doing the thing I love. My arm came out and now I need surgery. Like, you know, it's a big thing to go through, but at the same time realizing that I know I still have my arm physically and it will heal, and I'm going to get back, like to what capacity we'll see, but I knew like I'll be able to come back. I still have my arm. To then
Right.
like watch Bethany, and she's done so much like athletically without her arm,
Right.
and learned how to, you know, cope and to figure out how to work, you know, with her, um I'm
The
blanking on
loss
like
of a
what
limb. I mean, you
the
know,
loss of a
which is
limb. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But just like I did so much research about her after that, and had actually been trying to get her on the podcast. I was in contact with her PR person, and we just kept having scheduling mishaps, and I
Yeah.
still am like, maybe one day we'll be able to
Maybe
get it,
one
but
day.
maybe one day. Maybe she'll hear this right now. But yeah, just so inspired. And so yeah, like being able to have that perspective, and you don't always want to, I think there's a fine line between just like looking at somebody else and being like, somebody else has always got it worse. But it does help you be grateful and realize like exactly what you said. Like, but what do I still have? And what am I overlooking, or what am I forgetting that I still have? I think it helps a
Exactly.
lot.
And that's that balance, right? I mean, balance is so important in so many aspects of life, but that's, you know, it sounds like you were able to do just that. Like you dealt with your injury, you know, felt all the emotions that I'm sure you were feeling. But then you were able to say, okay, like this is awful, but it's still here, and I'm going to work through it. I'm going to rehab, and I'm going to navigate the challenges associated with it. So I think it's just a balance of, you know, having that perspective, but also allowing yourself to feel disappointment at times. You have to, it's part of human emotion.
Yeah, definitely. Will you be looking forward to any other types of competitions this summer with any of the leagues or anything else?
Ooh, yeah. So the
Yeah.
Northeast Regionals at Ultimate, coming up June, what is it, June 5th or 6th or something like that. So yeah,
Yep. I'll be there.
Mm.
Woohoo.
Oh yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah. So, like I said, I'm so new to this, so I even like competing in NNLs is very new to me. But I love it, and so it's like you get these like nervous butterflies, which I'm sure no matter how, you know, seasoned of an athlete you are, you probably still get them, I would imagine. But it's kind of cool. I honestly love being at comps. I love the atmosphere. I love the support of everybody. I mean, that's, you know, we talk about it all the time, or you guys talk about it all the time on the podcast, and we talk about it all the time at practice. There's just nothing like being in a gym. People are supporting each other. Like, I remember the very first competition I ever did. We were like screaming our faces off for this one lady to just finish the first obstacle. And when we finished it, I swear to you, it felt like, I don't know, like our team just won the Super Bowl and like the last, I mean, it was just like amazing. And that's the part that's fun about it. So I'm kind of trying to take the mindset of like, you know, train hard, do as best you can, but really just enjoy, you know, being around the people. And then hopefully, you know, who knows, maybe worlds will be on the table this year. We'll see.
Hey, I hope so. I sure hope so. Yeah, because I just qualified for Worlds, but let's
Yeah,
qualify
congrats,
together.
congrats.
Thank you. I wanna see you there. Let's all go to Worlds.
Oh, I would love it. All right, I'll keep working hard. I'll keep working hard.
Yes. Awesome. Well, we're in a couple minutes, we're going to move on to the bonus portion of our episode. And so, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast, you know that we started working with Patreon probably almost a year, I guess a year ago now. And basically, what we're doing is if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll be able to listen to the bonus content of each podcast episode, which is basically a 10 to 20-minute extra content for you that we talk about anything from advice for people who are ninjas and parents and juggle a lot of hats and what's their best advice and their experience, or even we've had doctors on here who have showed some of the best warm-ups or the best recovery protocol. And so it's just this extra bonus content that we have for the Patreon subscribers only. So if you want to become a subscriber, you can head on over to patreon.com/ninjababes, and that the funds and the donations that we receive there go directly into supporting the Ninja Babes podcast and even like the new projects that we're working on. So, for example, like the Ninja Babes Insiders, that is still in the under construction process. But it just allows us to take on projects and to provide more resources for you, for the Ninja Babes community. So, thank you for your support. And Nicolette, it's been awesome talking today. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you for just gracing us with your story. I know it's been a this past couple of months. It's been a wild ride, but I'm so happy that you're part of this community, and I'm really glad that you're able to share your experience today and just talk to everybody else about something that probably hits home for a lot of people.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's a pleasure to meet you, I guess, virtually, and hope to see you at future comps.
You will see me soon.
Woohoo!
So yeah, so
Everybody out there, be strong, be you, be a ninja babe. Whoop
woohoo!
whoop.